You've got everything, haven't you? You've got the amazing voice, you're gorgeous, you're talented, it's so effortless. It must be fantastic to be you right now.
I do feel very lucky and very blessed, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm just so grateful because it's everyone else that's, supporting me that's making it happen. So, yeah, I'm enjoying it.
How do you cope with being you, that everybody wants you, you're wanted on every TV show, they want to talk to you, they want you to sing, your albums fly off the shelves. How do you cope with that psychologically?
Well, I think it's keep my family close, really, because my mum and everyone back home, they're all very down to earth, very grounded, and they, I think, keep everything real. So I don't really have any friends that weren't friends from before I was famous. Everyone's got my best interests at heart, so I think that's important, not to get carried away and start believing in your own hype.
I've seen you for the last 2 years touring across the UK, and what is interesting about your show is you have 12-year-old girls who love you, you have 40-year-old ladies who think you're amazing, and then you have 80-year-old guys who also love you. It is completely across the board, isn't it?
Yes, and it's been getting more like that over the last few years. Originally I would say it was an older market, but definitely, especially with the Viva La Diva and being on tour with Darcy Bussell, I'm seeing younger and younger people coming in, and that makes me so happy, because when I talk to them after the show and they're saying, when I grow up I want to be an opera singer rather than a pop star, which maybe it was 10 years ago, it's just so exciting, I think, especially for classical music.
And what you've done with your albums, and there are other people as well, Russell Watson's helped, and people like Andrea Bocelli, is bring classical music into normal people's houses. And I mean that with the greatest respect. It's a clever thing you've done, that you've made it accessible, although we don't even know you're doing it.
Well, I grew up in a normal, house, working class background. My parents didn't play classical music. And just because of my love of singing, I joined the church choir, and they started training my voice for that type of music. And so my singing teacher suggested classical music, and it wasn't a decision made on my part, but I did fall in love with classical music. So I always feel quite upset when people think it's an elitist thing, when I think everybody out on the street, they know a lot about classical music. They might not know who wrote it, what opera it's from, things like that, but these are the pop songs of their time. So it's good to see more people tuning into it.
And for you, when I watch you perform, it seems so effortless. I know this is the stupidest question I'm going to ask in the interview, but you must have been born singing. You can't be trained to do what you do, can you, really?
I think there's a certain amount of training. I did have to go to the Royal Academy for 4 years to learn to be able to sing in these different languages and things like that. But I have always wanted to sing, and I did my first performance when I was 4. So I remember there was a talent show at school, and I begged my mum to teach me a song so I could be part of it. And I didn't question whether I had a good voice. It was just that that's all I wanted to do. So I guess you are kind of born with a passion.
I hear a lot of things about, you don't become a great singer until you're 40 with the type of songs that you sing. Do you find every album sounds better to your ear?
My voice is definitely developing. I made the first album when I was 22, 23, so there's obviously a big difference between that and I'm 28. So yeah, with each album, because there's usually a gap of a year in between, I can hear it maturing, I can hear progression. But it is true that your voice isn't totally developed until you're 30, so there is something in that.
So they're not lying?
No. But I'm still training, and I would imagine that for the rest of my life I'll keep having singing lessons, which I think is another thing people can't understand. But you're always learning as a singer. You can always pick up new techniques and little things that help you.
What fascinates me as well about your albums is you sound like you're from the places that you're singing in, if you know what I mean. How do you get that right? Because it could very easily sound a parody, couldn't it?
Well, I spent a lot of time working on the languages when I was studying, and it's very important that not only do you know roughly the translation, but you know what each word is when you're singing in German or French or whatever it is, because you can't sing a sad song, with a big smile on your face. You have to be able to interpret the emotion. And the language coaches at the Academy are amazing. So, and whenever I have to learn a new song now in another language, I still go back to them, still make sure that the pronunciation's right, because I think it would be a huge mistake. And I don't know, it would be just very, very wrong to sing it without the correct pronunciation.
What comes first then? The words, the meaning of the words, the tune? How do you learn a song?
The meaning of the words, the pronunciation, without any music, and then the music, and then the pronunciation with the music, and then the interpretation.
Right, and what does that mean then? What's interpretation?
The performance, so how you can colour the song, how you can get the message across, and how you can make it different to other versions.
Because that's the difficult thing. What I noticed with many of the people who have brought out albums in the last few years, the same songs keep coming around and around again and again, but they do all sound different. You don't want anybody saying, well, she doesn't do as well as Sarah Brightman, or she doesn't do it as well as someone else. That's not what you need, is it?
Well, you can't please everyone all of the time, and there are going to be people who prefer a different version. I've always tried to take songs and give them my own treatment. I've sung a lot of men's songs, so I've sung things like Nessun Dorma and O Sole Mio because they have been heard so many times, so I thought it was nice to give it a new twist. But even with Abide With Me on the album, we decided to have a key change, had a really it's quite a huge arrangement done, so I guess whatever it is that fits into the album, but yeah, you want it to be your own version.
Let's take another track from the album. Lord Is My Shepherd is one of those that everybody knows, really. They just can't sing it as well as you.
Well, it's the theme tune to The Vicar of Dibley, this one, which is the first thing that everyone says when they hear it. It was so easy to make this album because I learned to sing in church. I was there 10 years before I left to go to the academy. And with this being my 6th album, I thought it was quite nice to kind of go full circle, go back to the beginning, and make an album of all the things that inspired me to sing in the first place. So it's the obvious album for me to make. So that had to be on there.